Hi everyone, we're going to be building an endless runner today, and it's my first video back, so I'm a bit, rough around the edges, but we get there in the end. It takes a little bit longer, had some issues with Unity and so forth, but we end up with a pretty cool game at the end of it. So let's get started after the fade. So this is the wish list for this video. I want to do an endless runner. Bit of fluff. I want to do an endless runner, and so here's what we're going to build in this video, or possibly two videos, depending on how much we get done in this one. So the first thing is the player jump. So when we tap the screen or when we when we press the space bar, the player is going to jump, and they're going to jump straight up. We also have to do moving objects, so that involves spawning an object and then moving it from the right hand side of the screen to the left hand side of the screen, and sort of all the mechanics of that. Then we're going to take a look at the collision detection and response, so detect when the player touches an object. So if they touch a death object, then it's game over for them. If they collide with a coin, then that's going to increase their score. And when they touch a coin, we're going to delete the coin. That instance of the coin is going to go, and then we're going to choose to play a particle effect. Now, when we delete the coin, we're actually only going to have like a set number of coins that we can actually have in the game, and it's the same thing for the death objects as well. So those objects are going to be pooled, and we're going to use them. We're going to use the pooled objects rather than having to spawn them all the time. That means that when we won't suffer from any slowdown. So we want the game to be as smooth as possible. So scoring wise, we are going to choose every 1 second that the player stays in the game, they get a point, and then the score increases by picking up a coin. I'm going to say 5 points. It sounds a bit reasonable. So it's like an extra 5 seconds, basically, a kind of bonus. And then the screen layout, we're going to go with an initial screen showing just the player and tap to play. Now, I'm not going to do any graphics of this game. It's all going to be geometric shapes. And I've been away from Unity, as I mentioned, hopefully at the start of this video, for a long time. So this is me getting back into the swing of things. So apologies to regular viewers. This is just me trying to get back in rather than tackling the bigger project, which is the roguelike, which is coming back. It is, I swear it's coming back, but just not this week. Anyway. I'm going to move that a little bit closer. All right, so this is what we're going to do here. So I'm going to go back to the Unity Hub, and I am going to click on Projects, and then I click on New, and I'm going to try and find out where this is, which is in the H drive, wherever that is. It's not there. And this is inside repositories. And then we've got GitHub repos, and then inside GitHub repos we're going to have a new folder, and we're going to call this endless runner, and I'm going to select that folder there, and it's going to be 3D, and I'm going to choose 2018, so it's going to be not the latest version of it, but it's certainly the 2018 version of Unity. I'm going to choose that called end this runner. Great project. Okay, so I actually did try and do a video last week, and it did not work. The magic was gone, so I'm hoping this week it's going to be a little bit better. I've just installed the latest version of Unity here, so we'll see how this goes. It's taking his bit of time. So how has everyone been since we last made a video together? Or last watched me making a video? I don't know. I might fast forward this bit. Finally, it showed up. Okay, so I'm going to create a couple of game objects here. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to create a 3D object, which is going to be a cube, which is in the center of the screen just now. And I'm going to just transform it down just a little bit to about there. That looks good. And I'm going to scale it on the X to be way, way bigger than the screen, about that size. And I'm also going to make it just a little bit taller as well. So I'm going to bring that up to about there, and maybe just move that down just a little bit further. Let's make it -4. There we go. Okay. And it's not a very nice color. Let's add materials. And inside material, I'm going to create a new material. And I'm going to call this ground. And I'm going to give ground a nice kind of green color, or a nice-ish green color anyway. And I'm just going to drag that on top of my cube, and there we go. There's our ground. And the camera is not at a great angle. If we go to the scene here, maybe we want to make this a little bit wider actually. Let me bring that out just a little bit. Let's make it a little bit wider. Okay, so how does that look in the main view? Okay, that looks a bit better. So we obviously need to stretch it just a little bit further because the ground is a little bit too far out there. So let's go grab that cube and we'll stretch it out a little bit more on the axis. We'll make it 30. That's a good size. It'll go outside the edges of the screen. I'm going to call this ground. And I am going to give this, I'm going to make this static. And that is all I need to do for that. So when we run this, we'll get a nice green thing here, and we'll place our object here. So our object, I'm not going to create, am I going to create this? I'm just overcomplicating things here. I'm going to create a blank object. So the blank object, and this is going to be our TRex, and it's currently at 0, 0, 0. And here I'm going to create a capsule, and there's our TRex. That's going to be our TRex, and we're obviously going to move him just a little bit further over to the left. So we'll move him over to about here. That's good. And then we'll move him down on the Y, but we don't really want to move him. We actually want to move where the bottom of that object is. We want to move where this is. So if I go to the scene, you'll see that that is where the center of this object is. But really we want this to be down here. We want the pivot position to be down here. So if I move this up, I think 1, I think that moves, of course it's not going to move it. Am I just overcomplicating this? Maybe I'm just overcomplicating this. You know what? I am. Let me just drag that out here so it's a separate object, and we'll delete T. Oh no, it did work. Damn it. There's TRex there. That's right. It was at 1. I don't. Why is it not showing that then? Okay. That's bizarre. Okay. All right. Let's move that TRex to -8. That sounds good. And what's the Y going to be? The Y is going to be on the ground somewhere, so -3. Is that on the ground? No, it's not on the ground. What is this at? This is at -4. So that can't be -4, can it? Oh, I guess it is. So -4 puts it there. So if you do -3.5, 25, -3.2. I mean, we don't need to get this accurate because it's going to set on the ground in just a second. So if I add a rigid body to here, it is going to use gravity. I want to freeze the rotation on the X, the Y, and the Z. I don't want any rotation there, but I don't want to freeze the position on X, Y, and Z. But I do want to freeze it on X and Z because I don't want it moving left. I don't want to move it left to right or in and out of the camera. I just want to move it up and down. And I'm going to add a collider on there, capsule collider. And that's going to give us, is that giving us the wrong thing? No, I don't want it on that one, sorry. Remove component. Actually, I am overcomplicating this. That rigid body can't go on there. Copy component, remove component. It needs to go on here. Capsule collider is already on there, so I just need to add the rigid body here. Rigid body and freeze X, Y, X, Y, Z for rotation. And there we go. So if we have this up here, when we run the game, it should drop down just a little bit. There we go. So Rex is on the ground there. So that's good. So when we press the space bar, he's going to jump up. That's the goal for this one here. All right. All right. Yeah, I think I have overcomplicated this thing. We're just adding this one here, but never mind. So we'll call T-Rex, and then this will be T-Rex shape, for lack of a better word. So we have our mesh, we have that there, and then in assets we're going to have a folder here called scripts, and inside scripts, packages do we have in here? Oh yeah, okay. We're going to have a script here called T-Rex controller, and T-Rex controller, we're just going to gently, if it'll let us, drag it on T-Rex shape. So now we have our T-Rex controller on here, and then we'll add some code that will then jump the T-Rex when we press the spacebar or when we press the mouse button. Okay, I'm going to try that again because that did not look like it loaded the solution. Let me load that again. Okay, what new form of heck is this in Unity? So do I not get anything? Game object. This dot. No, I don't get anything. What is wrong here? No. Open C# project. What does that mean? Okay, has things changed in Unity that much that it doesn't recognize things? So we go to Preferences, External Tools, Visual Studio 2017 Community. And you need project, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So I should just be able to double click this and it should load. And it won't. Okay. This is the reason why my videos take an hour long, is because, and the reason why I do them is because these are the problems that you encounter when you use Unity. It just, I don't know why, but it just doesn't seem to work sometimes. Okay, so I'm setting this to Visual Studio 2015. I'll see if that works. No. These files could not be found and will not be loaded. Okay, well, I guess we're going to have to look up the internet for this. Where are we? Opening C# project in Unity, blah. Blah, 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 2017, comments. Just change the external visual code editor to the Visual Studio Code, open any script file, and you'll have a solution file in your project folder. Okay, I mean, I shouldn't have to do that. It should just work. So if I go to Preferences, External Tools, Unity Visual Studio, open file, will that work? I just changed it to that. I don't understand why that's not working. Oh, Unity. Okay, well, let's try and install this. Download Visual Studio, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to do that. So why can't I do this in here? So if I go to Help, About, it should tell me that I have Visual Studio for Unity. Visual Studio Tools for Unity 3.1. Okay. Visual Studio Tool Unity. And started with Visual Tools. Download that. This seems like this is an old document. Yeah, it was a year ago. Install Visual Studio Tools. This is from last year. What if I go to the hub? Unity Hub. Let me see what's wrong with this. Installs. I chose this one here, add a component, Microsoft Build Support, nope, cancel, it's not that. Okay, let me try what they suggested, which was try Visual Studio Code. So now we need to go and find Visual Studio Code, which I have no idea where it is. I think it might be in here. 86. No. Visual Studio Code. Okay. Okay, so code, double click. Well, let's open Visual Studio Code. And there's the solution file. Okay. Just to prove that, forget about that. So now I have a solution file here, endless runner. Is it because there's a space in it? I bet it's because there's a space in it. It doesn't like it. So I choose it back to community, that one there, and then double click this. Cancel. I'll close this instance here. Enjoying Visual Studio? Not really. Okay, well we're back. That was painful. Also, a huge big shout out to. Let me just go back to where this was. I don't know who that is, but that's who did it there. So there you go. Follow that if that happens to you. That is not a fix. But anyway, here we are. Okay, so I want to know if the colliders are touching. Now I have a rigid body here, and I have a collider on this box as well. Now, if the box is touching, sorry, if the T-Rex is touching the ground, then we know that it's on the ground and we can apply a force to it. So I'm going to create a function in here called isTouchingGround, and then that function will then determine if the T-Rex is touching the ground. And the way it's going to do that is it's going to use the collision. So is it touching something? So I need to do public void on collision enter. So if collision dot game object dot name equals ground. So if the game object is ground, then I want to say that we are touching the ground. So I'm going to have bool touching ground equals false. So I'm going to then say touching ground equals true. So if it's touching the ground, we can jump. If it's not touching the ground, we can't jump. And then similarly, I'm going to have a public void on collision exit, and then that's going to say if collision dot game object dot name equals ground. In other words, similar to this one, collision, sorry. So similar to this one, if we are touching a game object that's name is ground, and we know it's called ground because we've created a ground object up here. So if it's touching it, we want to reset that. We don't want to be able to jump. So the idea is that when you press the space bar, you shouldn't be able to just hit the space bar and just keep it pressed and then you like jump through the air. So I'm going to say touching ground equals false. So we're not touching the ground. So when we leave the ground, when we're not touching the ground, we're jumping. Okay. And then we don't need the update for this one. Sorry, we do need the update for this one. So we want to say if touching ground, so if the object is touching the ground and input dot get button, and it's going to be fire1. So I'm not sure if it is the space, but we can change that to be space if it isn't. So if it's touching the ground and it's fire1, we want to add a force to the rigid body that we're on. So we're going to do var rigid body equals get component rigid body. And we know we have a rigid body component because, again, in our TRex shape, this is where the script lives that we're writing just now. So it's on the same game object as our rigid body, which is on the same object as our capsule, which is on the same object as the mesh renderer, and so on. Oh, that's why that's off. Oh. So if I change that Y to 0, and then I change that TRex position to -2, there you go, that's better. Okay, that's why. Aha, the penny has dropped. Okay, that doesn't matter about this calculation here though. It's just positional stuff. Okay, so and I'll explain that in just a second here. What I want to do is add a force to that. So I'm going to say rb.add force, and then the direction is going to be up. So that's going to be vector3.up because we're only jumping straight up. So we want to jump straight up multiplied by jump force, whatever the jump force is. And I'm going to say that vector3 jump force equals new vector3, and we're just going to set this to be some value. Actually, it's going to be jump force, so it's going to be a float jump force equals, let's make it 5 just now. And I think we need to do impulse, which means just do it straight away, just straight up, boom. You want to go up 5, okay? And we can get rid of these things out here because they're grayed out. So yeah, so the positioning information. So if I have my TRex shape and I have my TRex, the idea is that this is going to be at some sensible value, and then this offset here is going to be, you know, whatever you want it to be, and it's going to be offset from the original value. So this value here, if I change, you know, the y coordinate of here to that, the TRex position still stays there. So it's always clamped at that position. Yeah. Okay, so now we run this, we should get some kind of movement when we press, I think it's, oh, there you go, control. So the control key there. So now we have a jump. And we've got a nice little shadow there as well. We could maybe extend that. I don't know how I managed to do that big jump there. But we could maybe make that, instead of 5, we could maybe make that 10. And then change that. And I think we'll maybe move the TRex a little bit further in to the screen. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So it is hard to tell that he's not rotating and moving and all that kind of stuff, but he isn't. Whoa. Okay. Let's make, let's say in here touching ground equals false. Just to make sure that we don't get any of these double bounces, because I think what's happening is we're getting double input, and it's still technically on the ground, but it's like within the collision. So if you can imagine there's two like colliders, this is the top one, the player one, it's kind of sitting like that. So if you press the space bar here, it'll add the force, but you might still be slightly in there as well. So we might be getting that double bounce. So hopefully that should fix it. If it doesn't, we can just put a pin in it just now and we'll come back to it. And we'll mark it up in the notes there. Okay. All right. So it's a kind of gentle jump, but it's, you know, it's a jump. So there we go. We've got our player running here, and what we'll do is we'll put a nice blue sky in the background. So we do main camera, and then we change the background to be a kind of a nice bluey color like that, and then we change that to solid color, and so now we have our solid color, which looks a little bit better, and so now we can run like that. So when we click the mouse as well, that gives us a jump as well, which is kind of nice. Okay, and then we'll make our T-Rex, we'll make that a nice orange color as well. So we'll do material, T-Rex, or Trex, whatever we're going to call them, and we'll make them that kind of nice orange color there. And if we go to scene, we can just drag that into there. And so now we'll get T-Rex in here. So we're starting to get a game that looks a little bit nicer. There we go. Okay. There we go. Sweet. All right. Okay. Looking good. All right. So now, what have we got done here? So tap mouse to click or spacebar, and let's make that control key. No, actually, let's make it spacebar. So we'll make that spacebar. We'll make that spacebar by going into File, Project Settings, Input, and it disappearing. And we go over to here, and we choose Fire 1, and instead of left control, we're going to change that to space. I think Fire 2 is left alt. That one there. Oh, there's a jump. Well, maybe we should make it jump. But I want it to be Fire 1. Okay, I don't. Let's make that. I mean, we don't need the rest of these. Let's make it H. It doesn't matter. So now, when we press the space bar after changing the fire to be that, we can see that we've got, it's the same functionality, it's just a different key. Okay, so let's go back to here. So player jump, that is done. So we'll mark these things as done. The longer the tap, stretch goal, done. That's done there. Screen layout, we haven't done that yet. Spawn objects, we haven't done that yet. Okay. Okay, we are, what are we into this video? We're in 34 minutes and we've done pretty much the player movement. But to be fair, that was Unity's fault. Okay. Without blaming Unity too much. I want to have the main camera there. Okay, so the main camera is, how do I see what's being seen? There we go. Okay. Gizmos. Camera. Okay, what is the leftmost of the screen? That's what I kind of need to know just now. So I'm just going to create a 3D object cube just now, and I'm just going to move it to over there, and I just want to see where didn't want to move the camera. I'm going to move the cube. Let me move that cube in from the right. Where the heck is that cube? 0, 0. Oh, because it's on main camera. Yeesh. Let's make that 0. Okay. And so it is about here. So that's roughly where we can spawn things from, is that part there. Okay. So let's say we spawn things at 12. Okay. So that is our spawn point 12. Actually, we could make it, can we make it 14? Yeah, let's make it 14. So 14 is our spawn point. So that's where our spawn objects are going to be from. So we're going to just call this, let's do this as -2, 3, 2.5. There you go, 2.5. That sounds good. And we'll call this one spawn point. So we know what that spawn point is, and we're even going to give it a material, and we'll call that material spawn point. Material spawn point. And we'll give that a nice purple-ish color. There we go. Nice bright color. So we can tell what where the spawn point is. So every time we create an object, we are going to, where did that say that? Oh, sample scene. Darn it. It's not really a sample scene, is it? Anyway, so every time we spawn an object, we're going to fire it off to the left. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to have a series of objects that are going to be sort of baddies. And those baddies are going to be prefabs. We're going to create instances of those prefabs, and then we're going to use those prefabs to spawn things. So we'll have like a coin prefab and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So first thing we want to do is I'm going to create a new object here, and it's just going to be a cube, and that cube is going to be a little bit bigger than that. We're certainly going to move that to 0, 0, 0. In fact, where's the spawn point? The spawn point is here. That one's there. Okay. I'm going to create a new material, and we're going to call this death block material. So death block is just going to be a shape that just happens to be a death block. And what's a good color for death block? Kind of reddy color. It's always good to have a red color for death block. So we'll give that death block there. So the game, it's going to look like that. And it's going to fire towards the player, and it's going to cause mayhem and all that kind of good stuff. Okay. So we don't need to have this visible on the screen. We can actually just put this down here. And so we're going to call this death cube. So death cube, the fun cannot be halted. And then for our assets, I'm going to create another folder here called prefabs. So every time we change a prefab, the single instance of the prefab, all instances of that prefab change. Now we don't really need to do it for this one. We can actually just create multiple versions of that, but I just want to show how we can create a prefab. And the way we create a prefab is we drag and drop the scene object into the folder or just inside this area down here, and that will create the prefab for you. Job done. And it changes to a blue color. And the reason why it changes to a blue color is because that is Unity showing you that this object here is actually a prefab. So any changes to this will change multiple objects in your project. So And the way you do that is you change the properties here and then click on apply, and that sets it for you. If you lose where your object is, let's say you're over here and you can't remember where you hid this, you can click on select and it'll take you straight to that prefab as well, rather than you having to go search for it. So we have our death cube here. So I'm going to do, let's do, maybe we can only have 10 at a time. So if I do Control D, which is going to duplicate this, I'm just going to copy these out. So I'm going to do Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D, 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 there. Okay, so I have 10 of these objects here. Now these 10 objects, if I look in the game, we don't see them, but they are in the scene. That means they are loaded in the scene. So when Unity loads this scene, these objects are going to be here. If we did this the other way around and said, okay, we're going to spawn objects from this point, then we would be loading it in a prefab, which could cause a disk access and all this kind of bad stuff. So we want to make this endless runner as twitchy as possible. So we want to keep things in the scene. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an object pool, pardon me, of these things here. Pardon me. We're also going to have another object. So I'm going to choose and what I want do I want a cylinder, sphere, capsule, plane, quad, ragdoll, terrain, tree, wind zone. Let's have a circle. Let's have a circle. Let's have a sphere. And of course the sphere is also a death object, so that gets the death object material there, and we're going to call that death ball. So you're going to get a death ball thrown at you, and again we're going to move that down to here and do our little Control D duplication magic. So Control D, D. This is the fun part of Unity. Certainly makes up for the can't build a solution until you download another Microsoft product part of Unity. Okay, so we have our spawn point here. We're going to use our spawn point to send our objects all the way across it, and I've done that wrong. Darn it, because I want to have death ball as a prefab. So I'm going to drag that down to prefabs first of all, and then I'm going to do my Control D. Yeah, okay. So now we have those objects there. Now, to spawn them, we have our object pool here. So I'm going to create another script, and this is going to be called object spawner. An object spawner is going to do just that. It is going to spawn objects. So I'm going to double click that, and that's going to open up. Is it me or? Okay, I don't know what's going on here. So I'm going to have a public game object. Yeah, see, it's not worked. Death cubes, public game object, death balls, public game object coins. And I'm going to close this down and reopen it in the hope that it works again. I'm glad to see that, you know, a couple of months off and Unity's still playing up. Okay, now it's not even opening. Here we go. Come on, you can do it. Yay! Nope. Nope. So that's there, but object spawner is not there. What the heck? You know what? I'm actually just going to use Visual Studio Code. I'm just going to use Visual Studio Code because it appears that that works. So I'm just going to use that. I'm going to double click it and it's going to run. And oh, look at that. I get all that stuff there. So if I do game object, I get add component. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. I get all that stuff. So there you go. All right. So I have these slots in here. I'm going to fill them up in just a sec. We need to find out, or we need to figure out how we're going to spawn those objects. So right now I'm going to just keep spawning death cubes one at a time. Okay. Where are we? I was going to do something there and I can't remember what I was going to do. Yes, I know what I was going to do. I was going to drag this onto our spawn point so that our spawn point has that script on it, object spawner script. And then I was going to take each one of these. So I need to click on the lock there to make sure that the property inspector stays there for the spawn point. And I was going to take all the death cubes and I was going to drag them into death cubes. And I was going to take all the death balls and drag them onto death balls. And so that gives me all those values there. And then I want to have a private name object current list. So I want to have a current list of the objects, and I'm going to say current list equals death cubes. So right now the current list is death cubes, current index equals 0. And so I'm going to say private int current index equals 0. Okay. And then we'll say max items equals, and then we'll choose death cubes dot length and private int max items equals 0. Okay. In fact, we don't probably need start. We can just get away with I enumerator. And then inside I enumerator, we can then say while true. I mean, we'll fix this in a minute because we don't want it while true. We want it to be while the game is running. To do fix while game is running. So while it's true, we want to take the current index from, we want to take the object in the current list, which is currently death cubes. We want to accelerate that to, we want to change the position to the object spawner's position, and then we want to fire it off that way. Now, what we need to do though is we need to say let me get these values here. I don't want these falling through space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wonder why Unity is not responding to me. I'm going to select all of these like that, and I'm going to move them there and down a little bit. And I'm going to do the same thing for these ones here. Move them down and along a little bit. And then I'm going to put a plane underneath here. So I'm going to create an empty one. I don't want an empty one. I want a 3D object. Create plane. And the plane itself is going to be a static object. And it's way over there. Okay, I need that to be there. 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 Because I don't want them to roll over. I don't want them to disappear. So I'm going to make a plane for them just to sort of sit on, basically. What is going on? Oof. I'm getting lots and lots of crazy artifacts. I think it's because it's trying to rebake the scene. And my machine is not liking it at all. So I have this crazy thing there. So if I run the game now, and then why do I have maximize on play? If I run the game just now, and I go to scene, you see that we have these objects, and they're just floating there. The reason I want to change it is because I actually want to give these things a rigid body. So I'm going to do rigid body, and then I'm going to click on apply. So now every single one of these has got a rigid body on it. And I can do the same thing with our death balls. So I can click on there, and I can click on, I can click on one of them, I can click on add rigid body, and then click on apply. And now every single one of them has got it. So now when we run the game, they will now fall down to the ground, like that. Okay. So now they're all sitting in the plane. So now I know that they are rigid bodies. In fact, if I drag this one over to the edge here, and then give it just a little gentle nudge, boom, it will fall. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to eject these cubes out to the left. But we want to do it at some interval. So I'm going to do it at every second. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to say yield return new wait for seconds 1. So right now it's going to be 1 second. So I'm going to say private float interval equals 1. So it's every 1 second. So every 1 second we're going to send one of these things out. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to say var object equals current list index, so current index. So whatever the object is at the current index, we are going to get that value there. And we're going to say var rigid body equals obj.get component rigid body. We're going to immediately set the velocity to 0. So we're going to say rb.velocity equals vector 3.0. So it's not moving. We're going to say object.transform.position equals transform.position. So we're going to move it from wherever it is in space to the spawn point. And then we're going to add a direction to it, so a leftmost movement at the current speed. So the current speed, private float speed equals, I don't know, let's make it 20. maybe that might work. And as long as we make it frictionless, I think we should be okay. So if I go to rigid body for death block, and drag is 0, mass is 1. 0 means no dampening. Okay, angular drag. 0 means no dampening. I think we want to make that 0, but we'll see what happens. I don't want, the thing is, I don't want it to slow down. That's what I want it to do. Rotation, maybe we want to set that to be object.transform.rotation equals quaternion dot identity. So we want to reset the rotation, whatever the rotation is, we want to put it to there, and then we want to send it across that way. So then we're going to do rb dot add force vector 3 dot left, because we're moving to the left, multiplied by speed, and then force mode impulse. I think impulse works again there. And then we're going to say current index, add that to 1 if current index is equal to max items. To do choose another list. Otherwise, we're going to say current index equals max items. So we're going to clamp it to a particular, we're just going to reuse those objects. So it's just going to keep firing cubes out. That's the hope anyway. It's going to be fun. Damn it. Oh, we're backwards here. All right, this is the right way around. This is where we're facing. Okay, so that's the current state of play as it is. So it looks a bit messy down there, but yeah, let's not worry about that. So press play. Oh, it's spawning. They're just going the wrong way. Well, I mean, it's pretty. And you can see that the objects are being reused. So that's kind of cool. You can see that they disappear from there after a while. I don't have a collider on here. Oh, I do have a box collider. Remove component. I don't want a box collider on here. I don't want that to collide with this. I just want it to be just an empty point in space. That's all. So when we press play here, that's the rightmost one. There we go. Okay, well, we've created a nice physics simulator. I like the rotation. We can keep the rotation. It's kind of neat, but we don't want to move. We don't want to move them on the z-axis. So let's freeze the position on the z-axis, and then let's freeze rotation. So we're okay. Where are we? We're that, aren't we? So we're okay on the y-axis. So we don't want the x and z axis rotation, and we don't want to move on the z. So yeah, we need to get rid of that drag. That drag's a drag, man. So we'll click on apply. and do that there. And it's still slowing down. Clear detection. Velocity change, force, acceleration. Add a continuous. We make it force. Okay, let's see. That somehow made it worse. Whoa. I don't know what I built here. All right. Whelp. It's not force. Let's try acceleration. Okay. No, that's the same thing, isn't it? So it is impulse. But it's slowing down. That's the problem. And I don't want it to slow down. So mass. Can I make it lighter? Will that work? I mean, that's going to make it faster, I think. Yeah, definitely made it faster. So if we change the speed, I mean, again, if we're changing the speed to that, then it's probably not going to be great. Okay, let me see if I can jump this then. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're getting there. The problem is it's backfilling over here. Yeah, it's not good. No, I can't jump because I'm not on the ground. Okay. I mean, we could move it at a continual speed, but I was kind of hoping to get away with it using physics. Okay. I mean, we could do that. Enumerator, move object, or yeah, move object. So that would be, well, I mean, we're just taking this code from here, aren't we? Everything else gets, this would be object, and there. So we're not moving the object like that. We would end up then moving it well, float time equal, actually it would be float speed. While, what am I trying to write here? Float time equals 0f. So distance equals speed multiplied by time. So distance is going to be, speed. Speed equals I want it to be like 20 units per second. Is that fast enough, I wonder? 20, if I do 20 units per second, then this is where my brain goes. So 20 units per second, that is going to be, sorry, oh, damn it. So speed equals distance over time. So that's going to be 20 equals whatever the distance is, divided by however long it takes to get there. So the time is going to be I just want it to be 2 seconds. I just want it to be a second. Maybe I just want it to be a second. How far is it? Okay, from there to here. So that is -8. Okay, so that's -8. So we want to go to -10, and that is 14. So that's 24. So that's 24. 24 distance, and so it's going to be 24 f divided by 1 second. So time. Okay. All right. So while time is greater than 0, but I want to interpolate that. Float it's always okay. If it's always going to be a second, if it's always going to take a second to get there, but it's not always going to take a second. It's going to take a less amount of time. Actually, this is going to be duration. There equals 0. Why am I making this a big deal? Float time equals that. While time is less than 1, I want to say that game object, so vector 3 var start equals transform dot position. Now, I want to add that vector. I want to spawn it there, and I want to do that. Okay, let's just undo this. Sorry. Try to think of my feet. Okay, let me see what the state of play is for this again, and let me just recalibrate, so to speak. Okay. Okay, that's too slow because you end up with that. However, I do want to add tag to that. So I want to create a new tag. untagged, add tag, and I'm going to call that death. Save, and then we go back to here, and I'm going to choose death for that. I'm going to click on apply, and I'm going to choose death for this, and I'm going to click on apply. And then the interval, I'm going to change that to 2 to make it a little bit easier. So it's going to be every 2 seconds to start off with. So moving along. Yeah, see, it's still not fast enough. So TRex Controller, jump force is 10. I want it to be faster than that, but I don't want it to go as high as that. I also don't want to change. I don't want to change physics either. So he's too floaty. Actually, do you know what the problem is? I think he's too light. Let's give him a mass of 2, and then a drag, angular drag. Okay, let's try that, because it should make him a little bit faster going up, slower going down. Let's change the drag, so let's put that 1.5 and change the drag to 0.5. That might pull them down a little bit faster. Certainly did something. Okay. I think I maybe want to make them a little bit faster. Maybe jump force 15. That might give them an extra boost. Because I want to get the height, but I also want to get the speed down. I want to bring them back down to earth faster. I think that's better, but I still want to give them a little bit more drag. Let me make that 1. See if that does any damage. It's a little bit better. I've just realised as well, he looks a bit like a Kinder Surprise egg. It's like the toy is inside. It's like one of those, like, you know, the Mexican jumping beans. That's good. Okay, I like that. That's good. Okay. So for the object spawner, what we can do is, like, if we want to change this to the balls, we can change that to that easily, and then we'll have spheres coming across instead of cubes. Oh, they're rolling really slowly. Oh, I think because we need to change their drag as well, so that's 0.500. Yeah, okay. 0 and then 0.5. And then apply that to everything, and then that should keep it the same. Oh, they're booking it. Okay. All right. That's cool. I'm going to put it back to death cubes. Death cubes. Should have changed that there, but never mind. All right. So what have we got here? So we've got spawn object there. So we haven't done any collision with death response things. So we need to do that. And how are we going to do that? Okay. So death object. All right. So we go back to our TRex controller. So we have our on collision enter here. We can also check to see else if collision.gameObject equals death. I keep saying collider, it's collision. Then we want to signal that it's game over. So let's have a let's have an overall game controller script. So let's say it is game controller, and it's just a singleton. So we'll just make this like a super simple singleton. And so we'll have public static class public static bool is running, or game running equals true, and that's all we have in there. And so we'll say if not game controller game running return. So we don't want to do anything if we're doing that there. And then similarly for the object spawner, I want to change it to that. And we'll save it. And now, yeah, we'll go back to here. So TRex controller. So if the game's not running, move that over there. So the game's not running. So I want to say game controller dot game running equals false. And maybe what we actually want to do is game controller dot game over. So we want to have a we can't do that, can we? Painted ourselves in a corner, have we? Yes, I think we have. Okay, let's do this the old-fashioned way. Let's do game over. Okay, let's do it the old-fashioned way. So let's not make it a public static class. Let's do mono behavior. And then we're gonna have private static game controller instance, public static game controller instance, get, and we're going to do return instance. Okay, and then we're going to say but that get isn't just going to be that. We also have to do var if instance is not equal to null, return instance. And if it is equal to null, that means we don't have a game object with this on it. So I'm going to do var game object equals new game object. and we're going to give it a name of game controller. We're going to say instance equals go dot add component game controller, and I think that's it as far as that's concerned. Then we do return instance. So we're saying if the instance is not equal to null, return the current instance. Otherwise, what we want to do is we want to create a new game object, we want to add that game controller to it, and then we want to return that instance. And now instead of public static game running, we're going to have is running. Is running, and that's going to be a get and a set. So we're just going to have get and set on there, and we're going to default that to is running. So get instance equals, actually let's do instance dot start game. So we're going to have, let's make that private set, because we don't want the game to set that. So we want to say public void start game, public void game over. And the reason why we're doing that is because this is going to control how the UI gets displayed. And the UI is just going to be game over, or it's going to say tap to play. But this I actually cover in a previous video. I can't remember which one it is, but this is how you would, one of the patterns you can use to create a singleton in Unity. And the way I do it is I create a private static backer field called instance, and then I create a public static property called instance capital I, and then inside there I check to make sure the instance isn't null. And if it isn't null, I return the instance. Otherwise, I go and create things for it. Those things being the game object, and then I add a component to it, and then I call start game. There is always going to be an instance of game controller. I'm going to create that one right now, but we need to fix the couple of issues in here. So I'm going to say is running, and then for the TRex controller, I'm going to say game controller dot instance dot game over. So when it's game over, we're going to stop everything. So inside our game controller here, for game over, we're going to say is running equals false. So the game will just stop. We won't move it at all. And that's going to be is running dot is running. Game controller dot instance is running. Why is that not working? Oh, that's why. Game controller instance is running, and then this one's got to be game controller dot instance is running. So that's our class, our game controller class, and that is the instance of the game controller class, and that's a property on the game controller class. So hopefully that makes sense. So now if I don't touch the controls, and I run this, the game should stop. In fact, the game won't even start because it's currently not working. Okay. All right, so the game won't start because first of all, we need a game controller. So I'm going to create an empty game object, position that at 0, 0, 0, and I'm going to add the game controller object to there. So that's our game controller object. And now what we need to do is we need to create a UI. So I'm going to create UI and text mesh pro text. Good enough. import TMP and set essentials. Okay. Okay. And then I go to 2D and I go to here, and this is going to say tap or space to play. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one, but I'm going to put that kind of in the middle-ish, and about there. Because we have a fairly light background, I'm going to choose a fairly yucky color of text. There you go, that's fine. Actually, we can probably make that the same color as this one. So let's make that kind of dark blue. Something like that. Yeah, that looks okay. And then we'll make that 48. Can we do auto size? Yeah, there we go. Auto size it, center it, and we can do an outline. Let's give it a nice darker black outline. I don't know. Make it a little bit chunkier. How's that like? Yeah, didn't make any difference. Okay. So we have our tap to play. Tap or space to play. Okay. And let's make that part of a canvas group. So if I let me create a blank object in here, create empty, and we'll just call this UI container, and we'll drag and drop that into there, and then we'll add canvas group. And the reason why we add canvas group is so we can fade it in and out, we can show it quite quickly. And then I'm going to change that to tap text, and then I'm going to duplicate it, and this is going to be game over text, and I'm just going to drag that up to about here and change the text to game over. So that's what it's going to currently look like. So the first thing is that the game over text is going to be disabled because I don't want to show it just now, and I don't want this canvas to be shown. I'm just going to flick between 0 and 1 for the canvas. That's all we need to do. And then this one here is the game controller. So I'm going to call this game controller. That's the name it should be given. And then we're going to control the canvas from down here. So our game controller is going to have a so these are all the public ones here. So I'm going to have public canvas group. Darn it. That would be canvas group. Canvas group, okay, that's fine. And when we start the game, I want to say canvas group dot alpha equals 0 because I want to hide I want to hide it, and I also want to set is running to be true. So that's when we start the game. So I don't want to start the game immediately because that defeats the purpose of having that there. But I also want to have public game object game over text. So when game over text is set to be true, I want to disable that. So I want to start the game by saying game over text dot active equals false, and then oh, it's set active now, I think. set active false. And then for this one here, for the game over, I want to set it to be true, because I want that to appear for that. But I don't want it to appear, I don't want the text to appear when we first start the game. So when we first start the game, it should say tap or space to play. And then so set active there, and then we want to say canvas group dot alpha equals 1. So when it's game over, we want to display the canvas group, and this is a kind of easy way to do it. We could also have faded in and faded out, but I will leave that up to you to do the fade in and fade out. I'm just going to leave it as alpha toggle between 0 and 1. Okay, so that's when it does that. We also need to have a void update as well. Void update. And so this has got to be if the game isn't running. So if is running, return. So if it's running, we don't want to take any more part. We don't want to check anything else out here. But then we want to say if input dot get button fire 1 start game. Okay, so we want to start the game when it's running. All right, and that's us there. We may have to do some reset things, but I think it should be good to go. So tap or play space to play. So press tap. And it's got null reference because we haven't dragged and dropped anything in there. So in game controller, we need a canvas group. So that's our UI container. And then we have our game over text as well. So we need to put that in there as well. So that should fix those null. We got a null reference down here. So that should fix that. So tap or space to play. So tap it. No, I'm still getting a null reference. Game over text. Set active. No, that's from before. Nope. What? So game controller is pointing to that. Tap text is that. Game over text is that. UI controller is that. Let me just put up if is running return. Let's just not have it come in here more than once because we're getting 4 bounces there. Actually, we should be able to get around that by doing. Let me rearrange some of this stuff. Let's do input dot flow input manager dot input dot. What is that called again? Is it input manager? Input. There's a way to flush the keys when you do that. Let me look that up in just a sec. So tap. So it definitely didn't like that there. Line 30. It doesn't like canvas grip or that. So I set a breakpoint there. Debug their configuration. .NET Core. I don't know. Sure. Okay, I guess I don't have debugging written on working on here because reasons. Well, that's not good. Why is that thinking it's null when I'm setting it? There must be some crazy simple explanation. So it doesn't like canvas group, but I have set it. Maybe I just drag it. Oh, let's just do it again. UI container, canvas group, game over text. There. Okay. I mean, I don't know what else to do here. Oh, of course, that's not going to work there. That's going to be... That's why I'm not getting spawns. Okay, so if I go back to the object spawns here, and then I do while true, if is running, do that. So if it's not doing that, yield return null. So what that means is if the game isn't running, don't do any of this stuff. Otherwise you can finish the rest of what you were doing. Okay. Okay. Boom. So I'm getting null references there. I don't... Is it because I'm getting two game controllers? That is why I am getting two game controllers. Okay, so the reason why is because I'm not finding the instance there. Else the instance equals find object of type game controller. If instance is not equal to null, return instance. Okay, so this one here goes out and tries to find the game controller, and if it doesn't find the game controller, then it creates a new object and adds a component to that and then returns that instance back to the caller. Okay, that fixes that. And that's the reason why I was getting a null in here, is because it was creating a second game controller and it was using that. And of course those values are null, and that's why we're setting that. Okay. So tap display, there we go. And then when we die, boom, game over, tap to play. So this should stop, but it's clearly not stopping. Okay. So in that case, we need some kind of trigger or something. One thing I do want to look up though is Unity flush input. There's a way to do the flush input, reset input. There you go. There's the one. So inside our game controller, for start game, we want to do input.reset input axes. And this should hopefully stop that double bounce that we're getting, or the bounce that we get. You never know. Okay, there we go. Our little Kinder Surprise egg jumping away and then dead. So we need to stop this happening. So our object spawner, well, it's not running. Well, it's not is running. So why is this not getting set? So game over is setting it to false. Is game over not getting called? Is that why? But if it's not getting called, then how's the canvas script getting activated? Haha! So it is. Okay. So game instance is running. Wait for seconds. What if we did is this, all of this, it's the same logic, but else yield return null. Now you always have to yield return something if you're inside an enumerator, or else it just goes like that inside it, and it basically steals all the processing power. So you really want to do that yield return null and make sure, or yield return something, because if you don't have that, that's going to cause issues for you. Okay. That there. Okay, so it's done all that there. So what we want to do is we want to add another one inside here that checks to see if it hasn't done anything. So we want to say if is running actually maybe we just need to have that if it's running. And in that way it just continually does that check, I think. Looks like it's going to work. So we need to reset these as well. Let's do that again. Okay. Boom. And we're not getting anything else after that. Okay, so game over, tap or space to play. Okay, so we need to do the reset now. All right. So we need to reset the player to the original position. We need to reset all the blocks to somewhere underneath there. So we're going to say Um, so if it's not running, can we just turn off the blocks? Would that be just as easy to do, and then set them active here? Maybe we can do that. Now let's change the position. Okay, so well, it's true there. Okay, let's go back and see what we've done so far. Okay, so done. Screen layout, initial screen shows player and tap to play. Done that. Shows current display. Done that. And we've done that. Okay. So we need a UI for the score, which we'll get in a sec. Collision with coin we haven't done. Along with the tap, higher stretch go for that. Collision deck and object, I've done that. Okay. Okay, so we haven't done the score, which we'll get to. But we need to get rid of the objects, and I think probably the best way to do it is just to set them to be inactive. So what if we had is running? So if it's not running, else we want to set all of the objects to be inactive. So we can say for each object in current list, set active false. So we basically turn off the objects, and then when we get to this point here, we can say object.set active true. But what if it's halfway through the object? Can we do it as this part here? Like, can we set them to be active to be true there, and then it'll just work? Maybe. Well, let's see. Okay. Sorry about that flicking. I don't know what I was doing. Okay. So tap space to play, and I got my jump. Boom. So as soon as we hit, we could spawn an explosion, and then that would get rid of the. So it's going to disappear in a second anyway. So we could disable it anyhow. Okay. All right. So we could spawn an explosion. Let's do the score. Okay, so for canvas, we have our UI container, but we also have another one here, which is going to be UI. Excuse me. And we're going to put that up there, and that's going to look great. And we're going to put that to there, and we're going to make that auto size. Actually, no, we don't want it to be auto size. We want it to be a particular size. But we do want to make it bigger. 48. And we want to change this to be score. I'll move that just a little bit up there. and then we'll duplicate it, and we'll call this score text, and the score text will be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And I'll set it to be that. Yeah, just make it 0. So for every second that the player is active, they get a point. Okay, and then over in Game Controller, where are we? Game Controller. Private second. So we're going to add the seconds to that, and we're going to do that. Where are we going to do that? I'm going to do that inside there, but we also need to have public text mesh pro. It's like tm pro dot tmp text element. Is it text element? Text mesh pro UGUI. Yeah, that's the one. UGUI score. And then start game, we're going to say score.text equals 0. And in the update, we're going to add to the score. So it's going to be seconds plus equals time.delta time. And then the score.text is going to be string.format 0, 0, comma seconds. Because I don't want a decimal point in there. I just want it to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to count up in fractions of a second, but I'm going to clamp it to being let's set the null pointer. That's going to be score. Track that over there. So I haven't set it to be. I want it to show the full integer values. So it's currently counting up, which is right, but I'm not running. So if it's running, do that. Okay. So I never read my own code. So if it's running, I want to increase the text. I want to increase the number of seconds. Otherwise, I want to wait until the game starts. Okay. Now run away, run. So 1, 2. Okay, so we're getting there. Boom. Game over. Space to play. Play again. Okay, so when you play again, we're going to need to reset the score. Start game score.text equals that. Seconds equals 0. So we want to make sure that the number of seconds and the when you start the game again gets reset. And that's that. Getting there. Getting there. Kinder Surprise Egg is a bit floaty still, but okay, and then boom, and then resets to 0. Oh, see, still not. Ha ha ha. Well, that's not good. We need to get that to reset as soon as that restarts. Okay, I think the issue is that because of the way because we're using this enumerator start, I think that's causing problems. But let's see what else we need to get done anyway. So we've done game over. Scoring increase per second. Blah 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 blah. Stop doing that. Okay. So the only thing we need to do really is the coin collision, and we're pretty much done. And then the rest of it is just tidying stuff up. I don't think we need this bit here. That was a kind of stretch for this video. But I think we're okay with that. So the coin, let's do coin. So if we go to, let's go to death ball. Okay, so this is one of the death balls. So if I create a new 3D object, and I'm going to create a cylinder, which is going to be that. I'm going to create another one, which is going to be called coin. And then the coin is going to parent that cylinder. Now that cylinder, I need to rotate it on the x-axis. Kind of like 90 degrees, like that. And then I want to scale it on the y-axis. Oh, no, that would be the wrong axis. I want to scale it on the y-axis to be about that size. So it's kind of a coin. And then I want to bring this down to here just to make sure that it's roughly the same size as this. Okay, just about right. And then we can sort of make it a little kind of Mario coin, because we can add a 3D object, make a cube, and a cube is going to be kind of like that, kind of narrow, not as tall, and definitely not as wide, like that. Oops. Kind of like that. So it's kind of like a kind of Mario coin-ish thing. And then we go back to our materials and we create another material called coin. And coin is going to have a kind of lightish, greenish, limeish type color to it, because why not? And so I'm going to put that into cube and that onto the cylinder, like that. Okay. And if I grab the coin and then I do rotate around the Y, I think I can have a separate script that will just do that. It will just do a coin, like a rotation, and then the speed should carry it. So if I add, let me parent that to there. So if I add the cylinder there and then I add a rigid body, and the rigid body, I want to freeze the rotation. I want to freeze the rotation on everything, I think. I don't want to rotate on anything. And then I want to, definitely don't want that for the cube, I just want that to be there. And then for the freeze position, I think it can be, we can leave that as is, but we definitely want to take the same tack we did here. So this is going to be 0.5 and drag of nothing. So that there, and then 0.5. I think that's what we had. 0.500. Okay, so that's right there. And then the coin I want to rotate around there. So I'm going to create a script, which is C# script, and we'll call that rotate around Y, because why not? And I'm going to double click that. And the update will be rotate around vector 3 dot 0, vector 3 dot up, and then the angle in degrees, which is going to be 45 times time dot delta time. I think that's right. I want to say that's right. I'm going to add that to that coin, rotate around Y, and then we save it. We'll run the game, and then we'll go back to the scene, and we'll see that coin is falling through the sky. Why is coin falling through the sky? Let's try that again. Oh dear. Ah, okay, I see what it is. Okay. So it's got to be transformed up position. So it's going to be position. Okay. Hopefully this isn't going to cause any crazy adverse effects. Or we might have to, like if I move this, okay. Where am I going? Okay, so if I rotate this and I move it, so that's it rotating like that. If I move it like that, it still moves. Okay, that's good. So I really want to speed it up a bit. So let's do public float degrees equals 90. And let's change that to degrees. And then when we run it, it should go faster. Still not fast enough. Let us make that 180. And then that should make it rotate a little bit faster. Okay. Where'd all the cubes go? Oh, because they turned them off, that's why. Okay, so there's a little rotating coin. So now, if we have, did I add a coin for this one? No, let's add a tag, and we'll call this one coin. And then for coin, we need to add that to here. So we're going to add coin to our rigid body capsule object. And then we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to make that a prefab. Again, all we need to do is just drag that into our prefab folder. And now that we have our prefab, we can make copies of these. So we can do Control D, 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 D. There we go. Okay, so when we run this game, all these objects will just start rotating in situ, like that. Which is kind of cool. Although they are a bit close to each other, so maybe shouldn't have done that. Oh dear. Rotate around local. Ha 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 ha. Axis, angle. Oh, use that instead, okay. Vector 3 axis, angle, space relative to. So the axis is there, angle is that, space, relative to self. Okay. Well, that's got to work better. I'm going to move these a little bit further out from each other. Once it decides to move. Let me move that to there. Okay, so a little bit further apart. So hopefully they won't all start spinning out of control. Okay, perfect. There we go. So they're all spinning on their axis. All right, okay. So now what we can do is we can go back to our spawn point. And remember we had that coins slot? So we have our coins there. So we're going to put the padlock on that, and we're going to drag all those coins over to the coin slot. Uncheck that there, and then we're going to go to our object spawner, and instead of death cubes, we're going to choose coins. And choose coins there, and then we're going to run this here. Okay, and then I'm going to press tap to play. There's no rigid body attached. Okay. It's because it's not in there. So we go to our object spawner. So the problem is that the object itself, the object itself doesn't have a rigid body. So we can get component in children, in the game object or any of its children. So we do that, and it shouldn't take too long to find it. So I'm not too bothered about speed in this one. Should be fine. So press space. Whoa. Well, he's just flinging coins at us. Whee! Well, that looks kind of fun, but not exactly what I wanted. What if we did, here's a thought. What if we did, the problem is it's moving. Okay. All right, the problem I think is that because it's doing the rotation, it's changing the forward-facing vector, which is throwing everything out. So I wonder if we can change that to being local. Probably not. Freeze position. I don't want to freeze position, that's for sure. So the coin's got that script around it. Okay, what if we just remove that component for just now? Let's forget about the rotation. So again, the power of this is that once you create these things, once you create these prefabs, changing one of them changes everything, and it really helps when you're building the game. Okay, so hopefully we should get coins now. Here we go. So we don't want to avoid the coins, but we do want to pick them up. So when we pick them up, we're going to destroy that coin that we picked up, and then add to the score. So so let's do public void pick up coin. Seconds plus equals 5. I think we said it was 5 for each coin that we pick up. And then inside our TRex controller, we check to see if it's a coin. Else if collision tag equals coin, we want to turn off that game object. So we want to say collision.gameObject.set active false. So we're going to hide that game object. And then we're going to say gameController.instance.pick up coin. And so that's going to be our coin pickup. Okay. All right. So I keep jumping over them because I keep seeing them. Boom. There we go. We're picking up coins. Okay. And if we don't pick them up, we miss out on the score. No, no reference. What's that mean? Because okay. So let's do that. I think the problem is because it's inactive. The object's inactive, so you can't get the component in the children. I think there's some weird rule like that. So if we change all the stuff for the object level to this point here, and then all the stuff for the rigid body stuff to after that, I think that should fix it. So if I keep going, so if I just pick up all the coins, it should still keep spawning coins. Oh, I should probably press space. So I get 1 coin, 2. This is a bit like Count Dracula from Sesame Street. So we just have to wait until the coins run out, and hopefully they don't run out. So we shouldn't get a null reference. Ah, there we go. Because the problem is that all these coins, not all these coins are active. Oh, because the cylinders are inactive. It's got to be the parent of that. Okay. Object equals that, set active is true, and then it's got to be inside the controller. Have to do get object dot root transform dot root dot set active name object dot set active. So a little bit of a pain, this one, and I'm sure we could abstract it, but I'm treating this kind of like a game jam, so I'm not going to fix it. So collision game object transform root game object. Wow. So I'm going up to the topmost transform in the hierarchy. So for this object, it's the topmost object, and the reason why I'm doing that is because it's causing an issue with our null reference down here, and that's happening at object spawner line 38, which is this line here. So this is coming back as null, and I think it's to do with that. So this should fix it. I'm hoping. So we'll just keep on collecting coins. 3, 4, 5, 6. So this should be the last coin, and then the next one. Yeah, see they're spawning where they last hit, which is not good. I mean, what we could do, it's a bit messy, is we could do dot position down times 5. Actually, that would be add. So we add 5 below, which would where are we? And maybe it doesn't need to be as 5, but it's I want it to not hit this. I want it to be away from here. So when it does spawn, it's not spawning at some crazy level there. That's minus 10. Okay, so if I extend that here, let me mark that as static. Can I get it to not reflection probes off, cast shadows off, receive shadows off? Okay. Oof. Having a bad time with this. Okay. So if I do that, then it should move everything 5 down. I really shouldn't have done that. I suppose it doesn't really matter. It's whatever. I guess it does matter because it's going to be active. So it's picking up those coins. Come on. No, it's still hitting that there. Well, that's not good. So is this causing the same? I wonder if this is the same thing as if I made that death cubes. So if I make that death cubes, does that make that the same thing? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 12, 13. Okay, so the cubes are working, so there's something wrong with the coins. But let's go back to our little list here. So done, collision with coin, done. I wouldn't say that's done. That's done. Okay, we're getting there. The coins though, why are the coins being problematic? So this is working no matter what, but for some reason the coins just don't like it. So they're, when they, so the current list gets removed, when that happens, set active false. Okay. Set active false. I'm not seeing why that would cause issues here. Add component in children. Could it just be, maybe if we, see the problem is I've got this coin. Okay, what if we just took that out of here? So if we did, so there's our coin there. What if we just didn't have this here? So if we did, maybe it's because it's the rigid body is outside, that is in a child component, and that's what's causing the problems for it. But I don't see why it's not resetting the position, because it's still active. That's why, I think. Wait. What if I brought that back? Okay, that's death cubes. Yeah, coins. So now that we're doing the inside the TRex controller, now that we're doing this correctly, we're doing the topmost game object correctly, this should fix it. Sure. Yeah, I think it was too many changes. overcooking it. That's what I was doing. Okay, so coins should just keep trundling out now, except there's no rigid body attached to coin. So that would be get component in children, which is valid because it's a valid object. But I think though maybe it can't find it because the object is inactive. Let me just look up the docs. Get component in children. Only if it's found on an active game object. But get component. Okay, so get component in children. Okay, so let's do get component. Total hack for coins. If RB equals null. So the rigid body equals null. I'm just doing this because I want to move the game along. So if it's null, I want to say var child equals object.transform.get child 0 game object, and then I want to say rb equals child dot get component rigid body. So if I can't find the object at the topmost position, I'm going to go to the first child. And it just so happens that our objects, the first child is going to be cylinder, which contains a rigid body. Fingers crossed, that should work. We'll see. We'll run it. After 2 seconds, after I press that, boom, okay. So keep going. No. Keep spawning over here. And of course, it'd be nice if I could debug it. All right, I'm going to take a break, try and figure out why this thing isn't working, and sorry, I'm going to find out why Visual Studio isn't working, why I can't debug it, and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, this might take some time. In the meantime, I'm going to turn up the heat. And by heat, I mean the heat. It's cold in here. There we go. Okay, this is going to take some time. I'm going to pause the video here. Apparently it's going to take 4.11 gig to update this little puppy, and we'll resume after the break. That man on the internet was in fact correct. So what you have to do is you have to go and make sure that if you're using Visual Studio 2017, go and update it so that it is version, where are we, 15.9.11 I think is the latest version at time of date when I publish this. So make sure it's that version there, and it'll install all the Unity for Tools and all that kind of stuff, which I think is updated from 3.1 to 3.9 as well, and all that good thing. I actually uninstalled Unity Tools, and then I updated Visual Studio. That caused a reboot, and that's why I'm back here. So now that means that I can actually set a breakpoint in here. So I'm going to attach to Unity. Excuse me. And once this attaches, wait for it. Okay, so it's attached. I'm going to run it, and then I'm going to find out where that spawns. I don't have any water. Okay, so coin, 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 coin. Yeah, here we go. So this is the coin not working, so I'm going to hit a breakpoint here. Just going to go grab that. Everybody's going to be null. I'm going to go get that component, so that's the cylinder there. And then the current position is 14. 23 object transform position. Is it active? Active cell, false, active cell, false. The velocity is set to 0 as well. I don't think anything else is there. Position, rotation. No, I want an RB. Oh, I see, okay. Ah. Okay, right. The problem is, okay, I know what the problem is. Right, I need to get rid of all of these coins basically, and stop mucking around, and I'm going to make that, yep, continue, and then I'm going to delete that coin there. I'm going to call this coin, and I'm just going to make it a top level object, and I'll go to my prefabs. I'm going to delete the existing prefab, so that's coin there, that's a tag of coin, 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 and then I'm going to make that a prefab. And then I'm going to duplicate these prefabs here, like that. Okay, so that's all those prefabs duplicated. And then I'm going to go to the spawn point, and I'm going to delete all the coins. So I'm going to go boom, delete all the coins, lock that in place, drag and drop those coins across to there, and then I am going to delete this here. Okay. And that will fix that problem. So basically I'm just removing the top level object and just making coin the actual coin itself, rather than trying to figure out, because what was happening was the object gets spawned here, and then the child object travels over there, and because the child object doesn't get reset, that's what causes the problem. That's why all the other objects work. So fixing that should fix that. So if we go to TRex Controller, yeah, I just need to set the active to be false. Okay, so now the coins should come in the correct order. Boom. We might need to rotate those. Are they coming in? And there's a weird rotation. Oh, I guess they're getting rotated back to. Oh, because they're getting rotated back to the identity. Ah. Yeah, see, the problem is that rotation. No, not rotated. Actually, let me take that one out and see if that fixes it. Okay. Okay, let me think about that for a second. Right, let's go back to our Sublime and cancel. Okay, so we have that. We've got delete coin. So we've done most of these. So that's done. That's done. Let me move that to here. Scoring is done. Screen layout is done. So the only thing that's left is this thing in here. Actually, I'm going to add another couple of things in here. I want to do some audio, which we'll get to. Just bear with me. Okay, so for our object spawner, what I want to do is I want to create a list, private list, game object, objects equals new list game object, blah 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 blah, blah. And then that's going to be using system.collections.generic. So I'm going to create a list of these here, and I'm going to say objects.add range, and then it's going to be death cubes, death balls, coins. So that's going to add those range there, new. Oh yeah, sorry, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Add death cubes, death balls, death coins. Okay, and I don't want to do that here. I want to pick a random one from here. So I want to have int object list equals random dot range, and then it's going to be object. It's going to be 0, comma object dot length, count even. And I think exclusive. Okay, so that's going to be count there. And so object list is going to be object list. So we're picking a random list of objects from there. And then the current index is going to be 0. And then the max items is going to be, I don't want it to be all the same item. So I'm going to say it's going to be between 3 and 5. Okay, so that is 3 plus random dot range 0 and 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be 3. So it's either going to be 0 to 5. So that's the maximum number of items. There to give us a sort of randomness to this. We don't need to have that transform there. I think that's okay if we just get rid of that. I'll leave it in just now just before we test it. And so now we don't know what we're getting when we get those values there. So I'm going to tap here. Oh, we got a coin. Where are the coins? Oh, all right. So, oh, darn it. Um, I mean, it is color coded. I mean, I can tell the colors are there, but so I don't know why we're getting. Oh, I do know why. Darn it. So now what we need to do is we need to say so this is resetting every time. So let's do for int I equals 0. I want to have it inside this yield return for seconds. Okay, let's just put it out here. For int I equals 0, I less than max items, I plus plus, and that one there. And then, so if it is running there, do all that. Current index is equal to that. I mean that this isn't going to happen, so it doesn't really matter. So we can get rid of that, and we can get rid of that. So now this is going to go through this loop, and unfortunately it's going to do this and set these to be inactive 20 times or whatever, or well, between 3 and 5 times. But I can live with that for this particular one. Doesn't need to be perfect. So we got at least 3 here. 4, 5. Darn it. Missed that one. Ooh. Okay. All right. That's good. So now, and you can play around with the meanings of sorry, not the meanings, the amount of objects that get passed out and all that kind of stuff. And maybe after 10 seconds, you want to change the speed as well. So maybe you want to increase the speed. So the speed is, sorry, the interval. So every 10 seconds, you might want to decrease the interval by a quarter of a second. That'd be a kind of cool idea. So let's go and search for this thing here. So I think it is in E drive. No. Here we go. Okay, there's this little tool called SFXR, and I don't know if you can hear it. I'll try and turn it up a bit. There you go. So that that's the sort of sound that you get. So I'm going to do jump. That sounds good. Okay, so I'm going to export the wave, and where I'm going to export it to, I'm going to export it to the same folder as this one. So that is going to be Show in Explorer. And where did I put that? So that's going to be inside assets, and then we're going to call this audio. And I'm going to call this jump. Well, we need an explosion. Let's do that. Oh, that sounds pretty good. Explosion. So we get jump, explosion, and then what else do we need? We need the jump. We need coin pickup. So pick up coin. Okay, that sounds good. Coin, and we'll save that. Okay, so now we need to create a mixer. So I'm going to go to here and click on audio. And then I'm going to do create audio mixer. And the audio mixer is just going to be endless runner mixer. And I'm going to create another group. And then this group is going to be called FX. And FX is going to have that volume there. For the game controller, probably not going to have anything on there. We definitely need to have inside the TRex, we're going to have public audio source. Actually, we don't need the audio source for that. We can just grab the audio source. So we can have private audio source, and then inside the awake, so we can create an awake function. So when the object gets first created, we can say audio source equals get component audio source. We'll make these private as well, like that. And that gets us that value. And then for the audio source, we can go down here and we can do public audio clip jump. And we can say, actually, I think we can do, if we go to TRex here, eventually. So we get TRex here, we get the object spawner. Nope, that's the wrong one, uncheck that. So TRex, we have TRex shape, and TRex shape has our TRex controller on it. So our TRex controller, we can have an audio source, and the audio clip can be jump. So choose jump. We don't want to play on awake, but we want to specify the mixer group. So we're going to specify FX as our mixer group. And that sounds good. We already have an audio listener, which is on the main camera. So that's fine. So now all we need to do is audio source, and where are we? Audio source dot play. I think that's all we need to do, just do play, and it won't loop because we don't have loop set on. So go back to here. We don't have loop. Where is it now? Yeah, we don't have loop, so it's just going to play. So when we hit space, it'll start. So press space to play, and then jump. There we go. That's good. So that's our audio for that. And then for the coin pickup, let's give another audio source. Private audio source, coin pickup. It's possibly a bit, see, we can't do that. Yeah, can't do that. Okay, let's do that. Public audio clip, jump, public audio clip, coin. Okay, so inside here, instead of audio play, we do play one shot. jump, and then for our coin, we'll do coin. All right. So that code's there. And for our T-Rex shape, we will have another couple of fields here. So our jump is going to be jump, and our coin is going to be coin. And then the next one obviously is going to be public audio clip explosion, and when we hit the ground we're going to do audio source dot play one shot explosion. And once it refreshes, there we go. Do that there, and then that does our explosion. Okay. So it did clip there, but it didn't. Why didn't it stop? That was weird. I feel we should be getting a coin now. Oh, come on. Coins, come on, coins. We need to get like random ones in there as well. So again, that's something that you can add to the game. Come on. Oh, there's a coin. That's good. Okay. All right. That's good. Okay. All righty. For the last time, I'm going to say all right. All right, all right, all right. So I think that's everything for this endless runner. Back to the studio. Well, that was a trial. I decided I was going to update my Unity version, and that caused problems. But I thought I'd just go with it and put it inside the video. The video ran way longer than I thought it would take, but at the end of it, we have an endless runner. So you can collect coins. Oh, actually, let's go back and see what So over here, we have. Let me just move that out of the road. So over here have we done everything? We haven't done the particle effect. Let's call it a stretch. But we've done everything else. So I think we've done what we set out to do, and that's the main thing. Excuse me. So yeah. So sorry about the Unity stuff in the middle. I hope that was helpful for some people, because you may have run into the same problem as I did, and got that frustration of I want to be productive today. I actually thought it was a repeat of last Saturday when I tried to do another video. Luckily, that did not happen. Anyway, if you like this video, thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, thumbs down. Please let me know either way, if you liked it or didn't like it, what you liked about it, and that kind of stuff helps me help the channel, all that kind of stuff. And if you want, you can subscribe and hit the notification bell if you wouldn't mind. That would be great. Cheers. That also helps with the channel as well. And also, thank you again to everyone who does subscribe. It's amazing. I get to see all these conversations that go on in the chat, and it's really good and positive and stuff. And I'd like to keep that going. Anyway, before my voice gives out, I'm going to stop here, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye. Okay, it's bugging me. Right, the object spawner here, we need to fix this. It's not good. So what I'm going to do is I am going to have game controller is going to have a public event handler start game. I don't want to call it on start game. Game started. Public event handler. Game ended. So I'm going to create two functions there, or two events, sorry, for that. So game started, and I'm going to say if game started is not equal to null, game started this event args.empty. So I'm going to fire an event if it has started, and then down here I'm going to say if game ended is not equal to null, game ended this event args.empty. Okay, and then inside the TRex controller here, no, not inside TRex, inside object spawn, I'm going to have a void awake, and I'm going to say game controller.instance.game started plus equals, and it's going to add that. That's fine. Game controller.instance.game ended. Okay, and that's fine. Instance, let's call that game ended, and then let's call that game started, and then change that to there. Okay, and then what I want to do is, instead of start, I'm going to do objects.clear. I'm going to clear everything there, and instead of start, this is going to be start spawning. So I'm going to do that there, and that's all I'm going to do for that. So when the game is ended, I need to have a private IEnumerator spawner. So spawner is set to null just now. So when the game is ended, I'm going to say if spawner is not equal to null, stop coroutine spawner equals null. So when the game ends, I'm going to stop the spawner, and then when the game starts, I'm going to start the spawner. So I'm going to say if spawner equals null, spawner equals start coroutine start spawning. Okay. Enumerator coroutine start coroutine. Oh, that's a coroutine now. Ooh, okay. Okay, that's cool. Okay, that's a nice, interesting twist on it. I didn't realize that changed, because it used to be an IEnumerator that it brought back. So that's cool. Okay, so this is going to start the coroutine there, and then when the game ends, it's going to do that. Okay. So I want to clear it up though. So do I know the current list? I guess I do know the current list. So I want to stop the coroutine. I want to set that to null. And I want to say if current list is not equal to null, just to be sure. And current list dot length is greater than 0. So make sure we have something for each var object in current list obj.set back to false. So we're going to turn off everything as soon as the game ends. So there's none of this stuff down here, else for each blah 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 blah. All we're going to do is that. So we don't even really need the is running because it's only going to be running if we are spawning. So that's kind of redundant. But let's see what we got here. Okay, just compiling and it's finished. So tap space to play. And oh, missed the coin. Got a coin, coin, coin. Oh, missed a coin. Okay. All right. I think that's fine. And so it's not spawning another one immediately after that, and it's killing it immediately as well. So okay. Okay. All right. It was annoying me no end. So I apologize for breaking into this and adding more time onto this video. But yeah, I think we're done now. Okay, thank you again for watching, and I will catch you in the next one, which will hopefully not be a month from now. Hopefully next week. So bye bye.